If you're looking for homeschool sanity, welcome. I'm Dr. Melanie Wilson, Christian psychologist turned homeschool mom and curriculum author. But I was once so disorganized, I thought I had to quit homeschooling and stop having kids. Now, by the grace of God, I have 6 homeschool graduates. Whether we're discussing parenting, productivity, or practical tips, I pray that this episode is just what you need for happy, healthy homeschooling. Hey, homeschoolers. I've always been fascinated by life change, thus my pursuit of a career in psychology. But psychology alone didn't produce the changes I desired in my life and homeschool. And what's funny to me is that I can only share steps for how to change your homeschool life in hindsight. I didn't have a plan. So if you'd like some things to change in your homeschool life, stay tuned for what I learned along the way. But first, I'd like to thank CTC Math for sponsoring the podcast. Are you looking for a new math curriculum? CTC Math specializes in providing online video tutorials that take a multi-sensory approach to learning. Favorably reviewed in Kathy Duffy's 102 Top Picks and the Old Schoolhouse Crew Review, the lessons are short and concise to help your children break down concepts and appreciate math in a whole new way. The lessons are taught the traditional way, not to a test. Each one of the video tutorials is taught by an internationally acclaimed teacher, Pat Murray, who is renowned for teaching math concepts in a simple, easy-to-understand way and in only a few minutes at a time. CTC Math uses a multi-sensory approach of effective graphics and animation synchronized with the voice of a friendly teacher together with practical assessment. This 3-pronged attack makes learning so much easier and more effective. Even students who struggled with math are getting fantastic results. And those who are doing just okay are now doing brilliantly. Visit ctcmath.com today to start your free trial. I took the first step in changing my homeschool life before I even began homeschooling. I made a daily appointment with the King, and I worked to believe him for the changes I wanted to see in my life. Here's what happened. I was invited to attend a 1-day conference with Becky Tirabassi. She talked about how to change your life, and her presentation was so incredibly inspiring and motivating to me. I was quite pregnant at the time, but she encouraged us to have that daily appointment. And by that, she meant to be in the Word, to be praying every single day. She had created some resources to make that a lot easier: a daily Bible, a journal for recording your thoughts and your prayers. And I chose to make that commitment. I stood up in her session and said, yes, I would have a daily appointment with the King. And I began reading the Bible all the way through, something I had never done before, and praying every single day. I even read my daily Bible in the hospital the day that I gave birth and following, even though I was exhausted out of my mind. And that commitment did, in fact, change my life. It has never been the same. I had friends at the time who said that they could see a real difference in my life. And I'm not going to say that I've never missed a day since then. That was back in 1998. I have certainly missed days since then. But I would say maybe 98% of the time, I have kept that daily appointment. And I can't imagine my life without it. I have someone to share my deepest fears with. I have someone speaking truth into my life through the word. And I have a focus. I have a purpose. And my purpose isn't to just find the absolute best math curriculum on the planet, but my purpose is to serve Jesus, and not just to be a servant, but to be completely fulfilled in my life. And that is what I was always looking for. I wanted to be fulfilled and to know that I was serving a purpose in what I did. So the very first step in changing your life is to make a commitment to having an appointment with the King. And before I leave this step, I do just want to say that I don't believe that there is one right way of having that appointment. Whatever you do, it should be something that you look forward to, something that is sustainable and that fits the season of life that you are in. I had times when I was nursing a newborn in the middle of the night, and that was my time with God. So you can make it flexible. I always feel like less is more. So have the expectation of doing less so that you are more likely to keep your commitment to daily time. And you can always do extra if you have time. And I do have days like that. I have days where I read a chapter of the Bible, and that is my only requirement these days, is that I want to read one chapter of the Bible. And then many times I have time to read a commentary on that particular chapter. And I just love that. But I've had so many different types of devotional practice over the years. I commend to you just to make the commitment to have an appointment with the King. So that is step number one. The second step that we're going to add to that cornerstone of having a daily devotional practice is to build routines. You've heard me say it so many times, but if there is something new that you want to do, if there is a change that you want to make, it is incredibly powerful to pair that change with something that is already a part of your routine. Maybe the only thing that is routine for you right now is meals. If that is the case, then pair something new with a meal time, and it is so much more likely to stick. If we can pair a new activity with something that is rewarding, also, it is way more likely to take hold. But regardless, if we keep doing something new over and over and over, no matter how we feel about it, no matter if we feel motivated to do it or not, we can make that change. That is the key to feeling like you are accomplishing things in your day. If you get up and you have a long mental to-do list and you have no idea where to start and you're running around like a chicken with its head cut off, you are going to end your day feeling like you got nothing done. So a routine will allow you to at least feel like you got your basic work accomplished, even if that is homeschool steps. So we did our Bible time, we did a read aloud, we did have some math time, and maybe we didn't get to some of these other activities and tasks, but that in and of itself is an accomplishment. And then the one thing that I would add to beginning a routine and starting to add to your routine is that you shouldn't skip steps unless you absolutely have to. This is something that I still battle to this day. I will tell myself, oh, I don't have time to make the bed. Oh, I don't have time to load the dishwasher before I go to bed. I'm too tired. I'm not going to do it. Avoid that voice in your head that says that you don't have the time or the energy to do your routine tasks, and complete those tasks unless you absolutely positively can't complete them. And you are going to feel so much better, because what will happen if I skip them? I will come into my room and see that the bed isn't made and my room looks like a mess, and I'm going to feel like a mess. I'm going to get up in the morning and see dirty dishes, and that is very demoralizing for me to start the day that way. So unless it's absolutely impossible for you to do a routine task, I encourage you to keep doing the routines, and then take that task that you want to add to your routine, place it strategically in your day so that it's more likely for you to do it, and then keep practicing it regardless of how you are feeling. Okay, so when we have a routine and our daily devotional time is a part of it, then we are ready for step 3. The third step in changing my homeschool life was prioritizing relationships. The first relationship to prioritize, if you're married, is with your husband. I think it can seem kind of counterintuitive because our kids are so, so important, and we are responsible for their education, for all of their needs when they are minor children. But our husband is the cornerstone of our family, our relationship with our husband. And if that falls apart, things are going to fall apart for your homeschool, for your kids as well. It can be devastating. And I am not speaking right now to a woman who is in a very, very dysfunctional marriage, where, there's a thought of divorce. I'm not even speaking to that right now. I am speaking to the woman who has a relatively stable and happy marriage, that when we prioritize time with our husbands, we are helping to ensure the future of our homeschool. The number one threat to our homeschools is not the homeschool haters. It's not even the laws in our state or country, at least not right now, but it is a possible divorce. So we want to prioritize our relationship with our husband, even if that means putting the kids to bed, or not putting the kids in a dozen different activities so that we have no time with our husband. But we make that a priority. We make sure that we have the energy to spend time with our husbands, and that we are making sure that we have time alone together, whenever that is. If it's in the mornings before the kids get up, if it's when we put the kids to bed, if it's a date night, if it's a trip that we take alone together. I think any and all of those things can help to ensure that our marriage is a priority. Next, we want to prioritize the relationship with our kids. I think many times, especially as newer homeschooling moms, maybe when our kids are in high school too, I think we can start to become overly concerned with academics. Academics are very important. I wanted my kids to be well educated. I wanted my kids, if they chose to go to college. And I've done a whole episode on that, about our approach to college. But far surpassing my kids' academic needs are the relationship needs. I wanted to prioritize how I was relating with my kids, how they were relating to one another, because I think that is forever. I don't know what life will be like in heaven, but I imagine that there is so much love with our kids and with people that we have loved on earth who are in heaven with us. And so I feel like we're making an investment for eternity when we work on those relationships, investing time in the relationships. So if your child is having a behavior problem, I think we should be less concerned about how this impacts their test scores and getting their math homework done than we should be about what is happening between us and our kids, between them and each other, because these are just key skills. And even the public schools understand this, that kids need social and emotional skills in order to be successful in life. Of course, you have heard me talk about the fact that I have created a curriculum that is all about that. If you are interested, you can go to fundtolearnbooks.com and look at training aliens, and I'll put a link for it in the show notes. But just know that when it comes to changing your life, if you first spend time with God and build a routine and then use your routines to make sure that you have time with your husband, individual time with your kids. I've talked about this so many times as well. Having that special time with just you and one child, one-on-one, to do something rewarding that kids enjoy doing with you, and to connect and check in with them. How are you doing? How are you getting along with brother and sister? What struggles are you having with your various subjects? What things do you wish were different? How can I help you? How can I pray for you? I mean, that is where the magic happens. I mean, that is where it's memory makers. Your kids can and will rise up and call you blessed when you invest that time in your relationship with them. And then the final way that I wanted to speak to prioritizing relationships is with our friends. Friends are so, so valuable to us as homeschooling moms. They can pray for us. They can help us have perspective. Think when something goes wrong in our home, in our families, we can really blow it out of proportion. And a good, godly friend can help bring it back into perspective. There have been so many times when friends have said, okay, Melanie, this is a phase that your child is going through. And, it felt like forever for me, but they were right. They were absolutely right. And, their friends are what God chooses so many times to speak through. So we need to cultivate those friendships. We need to dedicate time in our weeks to spending with friends, and not just say, oh, I'm too busy. I'm too busy with all of our extracurriculars, and I'm too busy teaching math and cleaning the house and that kind of thing. Friends have to be near that top of the list. And having that prayer time and a solid routine will allow you, again, to make time for your husband, for your kids individually, and for your friends. The fourth step in changing my homeschool life was self-care. Again, I've spoken about this before, but I feel like the first three steps that I just shared are a part of self-care. When I take time to spend my morning with God, When I prioritize my relationship with my husband and my kids and my friends, that is all part of self care. And I feel strengthened. I feel energized. I feel cared for in each of those ways. So self care isn't just, oh, I'm going to go and get a massage, although there's nothing wrong with that if you want to do that. After I had done those first three steps, I also had to prioritize time for exercise for myself. That is a vital part of self care, not only for me, but I believe for most women. And I would encourage you to consider making exercise a part of your routine. Hobbies were also a part of my self care. I incorporated my hobby of scrapbooking into my friend time, and I will be continuing to do that now that my kids are graduated. That is a vital part of taking care of my mental health. So I encourage you not to just think that you have no time for hobbies now that you're homeschooling, but to make hobbies a part of your routine. And then finally, this is something that it took me a while to understand my need for this as part of self-care, and that is unscheduled time. Women who feel burdened by obligations are the most likely to overeat and engage in more addictive type behaviors. And I don't have any research on this, but I believe that moms who are just so overscheduled and they have to do so many things, and it's not just volitional. They don't get to choose to do them, but now they have the kids signed up for all these things and they're in charge of all these things and they don't have unscheduled time. I think these moms are the most likely to get angry with their kids. They're going to be short-tempered. They don't have that time to just do whatever they feel like doing. I highly encourage you to leave time in your schedule that is just open and you can choose what to do. And so many of your kids are going to desire that also, especially certain personalities like the phlegmatic personality, the choleric personality, if that is a child who doesn't have much control over their schedule and their time. Those personalities are going to be thrilled if you just have an open block of time that's not blocked off, scheduled with all kinds of activities. If you can just choose to do what you feel like doing, you will be giving yourself care and some of your children care as well. And if you don't know what I'm talking about with the choleric and the phlegmatic, I will put a link in the show notes for you on personality. Okay, so once we have covered those first four steps for changing your homeschool life, we're ready for the fifth and final one that I'm going to discuss today. I'm sure I could talk a lot about how we can change our homeschooling lives. But the fifth that I want to discuss is self-talk. This is something that I am still working on. But if we are silently telling ourselves that we're lazy, we're unlovable, we're undisciplined, our minds are a bit like a computer. Or let's put it this way, our minds are a bit like a search engine. And if we tell ourselves, you're lazy, you're so lazy, you're a couch potato, you get nothing done, our minds are going to go, oh, okay, well, let's search for evidence of that. Let's search for evidence of that Melanie is really lazy. Oh, okay. Remember this, remember this, remember that. And then our minds are going to try to produce those results in the future. Say, okay, so these are all the ways that you've been lazy. So now we'll be lazy again today. So we want to be very careful what we are typing into our mental search engines. If we don't want this in our lives or in our children. If we tell ourselves, even if we're not saying it out loud, but if we tell ourselves, oh, my kids are lazy, my kids are, they're just not respectful. They're little divas. They're smart Alex, whatever. Then we're going to see more and more evidence of that. And we can actually unknowingly produce more of that in our families. We can have that kind of culture that we really don't want. So to see the change that you want in your homeschool, whether that's in yourself, in your husband, in your kids, in your friendship group, then change the way that you talk to yourself about it first. I'm going to give you a resource that has been helpful to me in how I am talking about myself, but I also think it just requires diligence, that we speak to ourselves and about our families the way that we would speak to a beloved friend. I would never tell my friend, "You're so lazy." I would never say to my beloved friend, "Your kids are out of control." I would never say that. So I need to be a friend to myself first and say, going back to the first step, God can produce the fruit in you that you want to see. He wants to see it too. And if he wants to see it, it will be done. So if you believe that the changes that you desire are of God, that he would want to see that fruit in your homeschool life this year, you can just know that it will be done. You can believe it, trust it, and speak that truth to yourself and over your life. And ask your friends and family to pray for it as well. All of these steps work together to change your homeschool life. I know that if he can change my homeschool life with daily devotions, routines, relationship time, self-care, and positive self-talk, he can change your homeschool life as well. I want to thank CTC Math once again for sponsoring this podcast. We so appreciate them, and I hope you will check them out if you are looking for a new math curriculum. You can find all of the episode links and resources that I have mentioned in this episode in the show notes page at homeschoolsanity.com/change-your-homeschool. Have a happy homeschool week. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. I hope something you heard was encouraging. If you have a personal question to follow up, don't hesitate to message me. I'm at Homeschool Sanity on social media. Be sure to check my free resource page at homeschoolsanity.com/resource and find Sanity Saving Curriculum at funtolearnbooks.com. This has been a production of the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network.